For anybody out there that missed our previous segments, obviously we're in the part of the season where there's not a game every week. So we knock out a preview for each week. And now with the Big Ten Championship a couple weeks away, we did talk some USC last week. So run back and catch those videos on MarkRogersTV. Just search Ohio State football, and you should be able to find those videos with Claire, our conversation last week. So we're going to talk a little bit more USC. And Claire, this came across my mind in thinking about the stat that I've heard a number of times since this game was announced. And this is the traditional Rose Bowl matchup. They're going to play in the Cotton Bowl this time. And USC has beaten Ohio State. Now, only 3 of these games were actually in the Rose Bowl game. The last 4 were regular season games, 1989 and 90, home and home, and then 2008 and 9, home and home. But USC has beaten Ohio State 7 straight times. So it got me to thinking, man, I would like to know what teams, what fan bases, whatever the elements involved that cause you to feel this way. Michigan's the obvious. They're on the top of the heap. Nobody can touch them, I'm sure. And if you've got something different for me, then, let me in on that revelation. If you've got some hatred for somebody that exceeds Michigan, but who else, based on past experience, interactions with fans, whatever it is, what other teams across the country don't you like?
You're going to get me in so much trouble. I am going to get
you in trouble. Stir it up.
Okay. First of all, I will not surrender my Buckeye card to you by saying that I hate another team more than Michigan. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to surrender my card. It's always going to be that team up north, no matter what. There's not going to be that's top of the list no matter what. But for some reason, we're going to get so skewered with this one.
I'm not. I'm just a neutral host.
Oh, you're just a neutral host. You're stirring the pot. All right. Well, to be honest, with the combination of Ohio State's big playoff loss to Clemson last year, it has given Clemson fans this we opened Pandora's box to all of a sudden these Clemson fans that are coming out of the woodwork. And I have a term that you and I have discussed before about college football fans who are experiencing new money, as I like to say. They are the nouveau riche of college football. And it's not to say it's not a program that hasn't accomplished things and hasn't been around for a long time. They've obviously been very successful as of late, but it's not a program that you can say, there are still programs that we hold on to that we believe should be very good and competitive, like Nebraska, because we remember what they could do. And you still kind of hold them over a higher esteem than a team like Clemson. And part of it is that, the conference that they were in it's been weak for quite some time. It was bottom of the barrel for quite some time. So it's difficult to look on them, even if they were dominating a conference. It's difficult as a college football fan to kind of get over that hump. I am not taking anything away from their playoff victory or what they've been able to accomplish, their national championship, their win over Bama. I have no beef with that whatsoever. But their fans specifically, they're stoking the fire of hatred for me for some reason, because I get attacked regularly from Clemson fans for some reason. And trust me, I'm not an easy target. I know that anybody who watches this show know that I know my college football, know that I know my Ohio State Buckeyes. Not sure why they want to step into the ring with me, but for some reason, I'm gonna have to put Clemson as second under the state up north.
Okay, before we continue the list, I'm gonna clarify some things.
Okay.
For Claire, I'm going to clarify some things, not for you, but on your behalf, because what you just said, people are going to take and run with it. Yeah. And they're going to forget all the credit you gave. All that's going to be completely dismissed. They're going to take the 10% bad and run with it. Yeah. So, yes, the ACC, and I will stand firm on this, has generally been the worst football playing conference in college football for quite some time. Not now. Again, stop right now before you start commenting.
Well,
the ACC might be the best football conference right now. I think it's extremely close. I think it's an argument. I run the metrics. I even tried to separate them earlier this season. I think it's very close. The ACC has grounds to say we are the best football conference. Is it decided? No. But not too long ago, the ACC was awful. Okay, now to Clemson. Now I'm going to show my age here, but I was just a little tyke running around when Clemson won the national championship in 1981. But that was kind of like, where'd they come from? It wasn't like this was Oklahoma, Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, whoever, and they won the national championship, and you were like, okay. It was like nobody even saw them coming until like 9 games deep into the season. It was like people started reporting, and the internet wasn't around. It was, Clemson's like 9-0, and they won the national championship. And the bowl seedings being ridiculous as they are now, they were super ridiculous then. They actually beat a Nebraska team that was like 10th in the country. That's who they paired up in the Orange Bowl, was Clemson and Nebraska. So anyway, and then they went and they disappeared again. And if you track them, so that was 1981, they won the national championship. If you track Clemson after that, yeah, you'll see a 10-2, but it's rare. You'll see a lot of 7-5, 7-5, 5-6, 6-5, 8-4 for years and years and years and years until Dabo Swinney showed up. I'm not going to say that there weren't any 9 and 10 win seasons, but there was absolutely nothing close to any contention for any national championship between 1981 and about 2013-14 range. So
that is a very long time span in college football years. And you won't see, for some reason, and maybe on yours, but I'd look in your comment section too, I don't see a ton of Bama fans attacking anyone, really. I don't see a whole lot of Bama fans barking at anyone, even after they were able to sneak into the playoff. I really haven't heard much from Bama fans telling us to be quiet or telling us to, stop griping about Ohio State not getting the playoff. I wonder why that is, though.
I don't know. They're one of the old rich as well.
There you go.
Now, I will say on behalf of 2 of my finest contributors, Ryan Cantor and Mark Gordon from Shaking the Southland, they are extremely respectable of Ohio State and other teams of that ilk. So they have never held that in any way, shape, or form. In my conversations with them, they've been very respectable. They're, of course, in complete ecstasy with the recent emergence of Clemson, but they remember when. It hasn't been that long.
No.
Clemson, number 2.
That's
after
official.
Michigan. Who else? Is there anybody else you have ire for?
Even USC is one of those teams that's always like, as an Ohio State fan, you're not supposed to like. And then there's a list. Like Notre Dame is on that list. USC is on that list. I think maybe Florida State, they're an older program, might be on that list. Miami might be on that list. It was Gator fans for a long time. Gator fans after the national championship, and then after the lost national championship in 2006, and losing basketball and football and to the same team in the same year. That was not cool and not fun, and not fun to have to defend both of those teams in the same year. There's a really great video if you find it online. I think Nike actually made it. They put a paper mache Gator on campus the day after Ohio State lost the national championship.
I have seen it.
And bit by bit, it didn't take but just a few hours for this Gator to be decimated. It came off little bit by little bit, and people were just, we were bitter. We were bitter fan base about it for a little while. So Gator fans, it's really ends up being the fan base that turns me toward against a team right now. But it's just because I let them take up too much of my energy trying to defend my team. But the Gator fans were pretty high on that list. It seems to have cooled after all these years, 10 years later.
Had you known on that January night in 2007 that Urban Meyer would be the head coach some 4.5 years later?
I was grumpy about it when I thought he was going to come on board. I was excited because I knew he was a great coach, but I still had like this bitterness in my heart about it. I was like, oh, guy. Oh, I remember what he did to my team. Like, oh, I just didn't. It was rubbing me the wrong way. And now I'm obviously one of the biggest Urban Meyer supporters out there.
Yeah, I know other Ohio State fans like that weren't real happy with the hire of Urban Meyer, and I presented them the track record to say, you most likely have just won a national championship.
Yep, and they did.
Didn't take long.
No,